Shields up, Iron Breakers. Rurikhan here, coming at you with another video. Welcome back to Monster Hunter World Iceborne. And before we get started with today's video, I'd just like to let you guys know that I'm going to be posting some more content in my secondary channel over the next couple of days / weeks. You guys know the place where I usually upload like full playthroughs and random stuff. I'm going to be posting some more content on there because I want to experiment a little bit with that channel because, you know, I have a lot more freedom to experiment there because there's no risks. Whereas in this channel, whenever I take a chance, the channel takes a hit pretty much, and I'm kind of getting tired of it. So just letting you guys know. And I'm also going to be streaming quite a bit more on Twitch. I'll probably be making a video specifically talking about these things because I don't want to derail too much the topic of discussion here. But I just wanted to let you guys know at the start of the video. So if you want to follow me there, there'll be links in the description and probably in the pinned comment or something like that. And let's get right into the video. So I went ahead and I made a Frostcraft Gunlance build. You guys are wondering, but Rurikhan, what about the glorious shelling? And it's like, I gotta be honest with you guys. I've mentioned this on a lot of videos previously, which is the fact that Wormstake Blast is quite simply, I'm burned out on it. I'm just over it. There's so many times that you go up to a monster and like the monster moves an inch to the left or an inch to the right, and it's like, oh, I guess I don't have a Wormstake Blast this particular run. Or sometimes the monster uses its claws while it's downed after you create an opening to put the Wormstake Blast, and with its claws he kind of inches you just a little bit backwards, and boom, then you miss it, and then you're just like stuck. Particularly with something like a Fatalis or Arch Tempered Velkhana, you're just like stuck there, like not being able to apply the Wormstake for like an hour, which it just feels like a complete waste of time unless things go your way. Like I can't even imagine any speedrunner that actually uses shelling apart from maybe Long. The amount of resets that they have to do on speedrun attempts on some of these later monsters, it must be completely bonkers. But yeah, so I went ahead and I was like, hey, let's see what we can do at Arch Tempered Velkhana set, and out comes the Gunlance. Now let's talk a little bit about the viability here, because a lot of people are like, but is this viable? Like, should you do this? Should you not do this? And it's like, look, you're not going to have every single skill that you want with this set, because this set is, like I've said in the past, it's custom made for greatswords. All of the skills that you get in this set are pretty much custom made for greatswords and, to an extent, longswords. So yeah, there's not going to be a lot of skills that I really would want out of it apart from the actual Frostcraft, which is the thing that, you know, kind of dictates the way that this whole set works. But the good thing is that Frostcraft, from what I could tell, and I never really paid too much attention to it before in my previous Frostcraft builds, but definitely this time with the Gunlance I did. From what I can tell, Frostcraft will also recharge while you're blocking with the Gunlance, and it recharges while you're dodging. I did not know that Frostcraft recharges while you're dodging. I'm not talking about dodging with a sheathed weapon. I'm talking about dodging with an unsheathed weapon. It recharges Frostcraft a little bit. As a matter of fact, probably if you pay attention throughout some of the footage that I'll be showing in this video, you'll probably see that when I do a back hop, sometimes you see Frostcraft proc again. So, you know, that's good, and it keeps Frostcraft up. But also, if you're playing with Gunlance playstyle, a lot of times you're sheathing the Gunlance to reposition anyway, so it's not really a big deal that you run out of Frostcraft. There's not that many monsters where you're just like sitting there for half an hour just wailing on it to the point where you run out of Frostcraft. And here's an interesting thing, like I don't know if this was like, if it was like this the whole time, because I seem to remember that like 1 or 2 rotations of a full burst with the Gunlance, which is like completely burn Frostcraft. But what I've noticed is that shelling does not affect Frostcraft at all. So if you want to like adapt this into like a normal 7 full burst playstyle, you actually can. Like I said, the full burst is not going to affect it at all. The only thing that affects it is actually physical hits, which I was really surprised by, unless it was because I did hit the training pole when I tried that. It was kind of weird. But anyway, like I said, trying to set up for full burst with Wyvernstake Blast and all that jazz is kind of a pain. So anyway, let's take a look at the build here. Naturally, you're going to be using the true Fatalis Gunlance because quite simply, there's not a single Gunlance that can match in terms of raw damage. And that's what's going to scale the most out of Frostcraft, which I know is kind of like a little bit counterintuitive is the word that I'm looking for. It's a little bit counterintuitive because, you know, you'd figure, well, Frostcraft would probably benefit elemental damage a whole lot, right? My opinion, not really. What you really want is that raw damage. That's why Frostcraft is so friggin' good for greatswords, right? Because it just scales off of that raw damage like nobody's business. So with the true Fatalis Gunlance, that's probably going to be your best bet in terms of getting damage off. What I do is I keep the same affinities. I haven't even augmented the last point in it because it's not really a big deal. And right now I'm very low on Great Spirit Vein gems. So we got affinity increase and health regen to kind of like counter the affinity of the Gunlance and also give you a little bit of comfiness, health regen. Not to mention that for this particular build, you definitely want health regen even if you're not going for comfy, because you're going to get level 3 peak performance. You're like, well, why would you put level 3 peak performance on the build, Rurikhan? And it's like, well, I don't really have a choice. It's kind of like out of my hands. I'm just trying to get skills that even work, okay? Because there were some skills that would not even work for the build. So let's take a look at the build itself. So at the top here, we have the true Fatalis Gunlance. And when it comes to the armor, we're going to need 4 pieces of Arch Tempered Velkhana armor, the Rime Guard Gamma. Now, the 4 pieces that I chose were the helmet, chest, gloves, and boots. And the reason we didn't take the belt is because Velkhana's belt has like 3 focus or something, which is not particularly useful for a slap lance build. As a matter of fact, out of all of the other pieces, the focus I would consider to be the least useful of all the skills in the rest of the set. And it also didn't have a whole lot of good slots. So I'm like, okay, this seems like the ideal part to take out and still keep the Frostcraft. Now, most of the pieces in the Velkhana set don't necessarily have good synergy for a Gunlance build because essentially this set was handmade for greatsword. Like, the only way that this set could be more obviously for a greatsword is if it said greatsword set gamma. That's pretty much what it needed to say at this point. It's also kind of good for longsword, but you know, it's really just like custom made for greatsword. This is like, oh, this is every greatsword user's dream set for a critical draw build, right? But, you know, we got to work with what we have if you want to do these crazy builds like Frostcraft Slapland, so it is what it is. So you guys can see the decoration distribution over here. I'm not going to be going over every single choice because some of them are obvious, but I will be going over some. So, Evade Extender is the type of skill that sometimes I still get users commenting on my videos like, oh, Evade Extender is not necessary to play Gunlance. And I'm like, well, I mean, if you want to play Gunlance for real, I would say it's pretty necessary. But I mean, if you want to just fool around, do whatever, hey man, you do you. But like, to me, level 3 Evade Extender on the Gunlance is pretty much a must-have. Now, another skill is going to be the shield decoration here. Some of you guys will be like, well, why do you need a shield deco? Particularly considering that you have so many evasion jewels. The reasoning behind that is because sometimes with the Gunlance, you just get caught out of position. It's just something that can happen. And because I'm not a speedrunner, I'm not like, oh, I got caught out of position, I made a mistake, I'm going to reset the run. That's just not the mentality that I go with to do sets. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because, you know, people nowadays, they love to quote you out of context, and whenever you say something about something, they're like, ah, you hate speedrunners. No, I don't. I love them. I think they do a good job. It's just not my personal playstyle. But anyway, the shield decoration is just, if I get caught out of position, I'll just pull out the shield and I should be able to block most things and still stay alive. That's kind of like the reason for it being there. If you don't like it, then get rid of it and put something else that you find useful. But personally, I like having the shield deco in there so that if I need to block something, I will be able to block it. Then we have the Shaver Jewel, which, by the way, both the Shaver Jewel and the Shield Jewel, you can meld these now at the Elder Melder. Okay, so there's no excuse, because usually people tell me, oh, a Shield Jewel. Yeah, I know, okay, they were hard to get, but now you can just meld them at the Elder Melder. Like, just straight up go meld decorations, select the Shield Jewel, boom. You can get that as well as you can get the Shaver Jewel as well. But why the Shaver Jewel? Because when you're trying to bring this to more endgame monsters, you don't always get to clutch as often as you would like, because monsters are just like spastic. They're going all over the place, spamming like 100 different moves at once without running out of stamina, which is pretty freaking crazy. So with the Shaver, it's easier for you to wound, because the Gunlance takes like 2 attacks to wound, or the 3 slaps and 1 attack. So this way, you just like, you wound with 1 hit and boom, which is particularly useful for the monster that we're fighting in the background footage there, which is Arch Tempered Velkhana, where a lot of times you jump in there and she just instantly does you the charge move that pins you, and that's a serious issue. It's kind of like when you're trying to clutch Arch Tempered Velkhana, you're like throwing a coin. Like those are your odds. There's a 50-50 chance that the second you clutch, she's gonna do the charge attack, and that's gonna screw you over. As a matter of fact, I died once in the footage that you guys are watching, especially because that. And the cool thing is that if you guys watch the video all the way, I'll try to edit it so that this shows at the end. What happened was she killed me, and then I came back, slapped her twice, and she died. Like, that's how close it was to being a super clean run. But anyway, besides the point, the Shaver Jewel is in there to allow you to wound easier, and if you're basically going to be slapping, you just want to at least wound the part that you're hitting, because that way you're going to deal more damage, obviously. And then the sharp decoration, because with the Arch Tempered Velkhana, you don't really have true razor sharp spare shot, which a lot of people will be used to by now from the Fatalis set. So you're going to need to counteract that using the sharp deco, as well as the fish thing, the fish scale that sharpens super fast, which I use throughout this video. And the event for that fish scale is up. So make sure to go check it out if you don't have any of these super fast sharpening things, because that way you don't need to have speed sharpening. You just pull out the consumable item and boom. As a matter of fact, I need to farm that a little bit more to get like a stack of those for when the events go away again. And then we'll wrap everything up with the Challenger Charm. It's pretty self-explanatory. We need to bring as much affinity as possible because to compensate for the fact that ultimately the weapon still has negative 20% affinity. Then we have the Evasion Mantle and the Rocksteady Mantle. You can replace the Evasion with something else if you're not too comfortable. You can bring a Temporal Mantle or something like that. And the decorations in the Evasion Mantle, to be honest, I didn't even know what to put on here. So I put Destroyer, like maybe I'll break a couple of more parts. It's whatever. And also the build that you guys are seeing in the background is actually not this build. So you'll see stuff happening in there that if you had this build, you would have a better chance of surviving. Because the build that I was running a different belt. And I noticed when I was editing the video that like, no, you know, the Fatalis belt would actually be better because it allows me to go full evade window. Anyway, let's take a look at the finalized build here. And as you guys can see, we got Critical Eye level 7, Ice Attack level 6. This comes with the armor. There's nothing you can do about it. Some of you might even be thinking, hey, maybe we should use this on an Ice Gunlance. It's like, forget about it, dude. Nothing is going to make up for the fact that true Fatalis Gunlance has like 196 or 197 raw, however much it is. That's like bloated raw. It's 390, I think, true raw. So yeah, no amount of elemental damage is going to make up for the sheer raw damage that you have with this, and how much Frostcraft scales with raw damage to begin with. So, you know, then we have Edge Theory level 5. We have Evade Window level 5, which is really good when you're trying to do Slap Lance. It's very useful. You got Health Boost level 3 for a little bit more survivability. Recovery Up, which is very good, even though it comes with the set, but it's very good because this set comes with 3 peak performance and you can't get rid of it because it's just part of the set. It is what it is. Which is why I would also recommend you guys to play this with the Healing Palico, so that you keep trying to be at full health for as long as you possibly can to really take full advantage of the peak performance, as well as have the health regen on your weapon, like I mentioned earlier in the video. Then we have Critical Boost, Weakness Exploit, Critical Draw. Critical Draw is not really our choice, but just, you know, it's there, so you might as well make use of it. Try to do a couple of draw attacks on her, and you'll always hit for crit. Then you have 3 Peak Performance, 3 Evade Extender, 3 Coalescence. Comes with the helm. It's not really our own choice, but the good thing about it is that it comes with Coalescence and Resuscitate, which essentially means if you ever get afflicted by something like the Water Blight or the Ice Blight, which reduces your stamina regeneration, you're barely gonna feel it, and then when it ends, you still get the full effect of Coalescence, which is still decent. You got Quick Sheath level 2, which might actually be worth it for you to try to swap something around to get 1 level more of Quick Sheath, because particularly for a build like this where you want to be sheathing often, it's going to be good. Although you don't have to sheath, because the good thing, not sure if I mentioned this earlier or not, because this is like the second take of the video, the good thing about Frostcraft is that for the Gunlance at least, it actually recharges when you dodge and it recharges when you block. Then you got Guard Up, Protective Polish, Clutch Claw Boost, and Part Breaker with Evasion Mantle, and Divine Blessing with Rocksteady Mantle, and obviously Critical Element and Frostcraft from Velkhana's Divinity. So all in all, it's a pretty fun set. I think that it is extremely viable considering that I killed Arch Tempered Velkhana with it. And, you know, with a couple of tweaks, you could probably make a build that would be really good for fighting against Fatalis. And Alatreon, though, I'm not 100% sure. I did just like a very quick try. I didn't really try that hard, but I wasn't able to hit the elemental threshold because the true Fatalis Gunlance just does not have that much elemental damage. And the element that comes with it is Dragon, which is not particularly good for proccing the elemental threshold. So I don't know about Alatreon. Could be a bit of a challenge. You might need to be like God tier to get this to work properly with Alatreon. And swapping the Gunlance is not necessarily a choice because of just the amount of slots that it brings with it. But, you know, ultimately, I was just trying to come up with a different playstyle for the Gunlance, and I think it's a pretty fun playstyle. It's not the most meta playstyle possible, but it is an interesting bursty playstyle, right? That's kind of like what differentiates this from a regular Fatalis set, is that the Fatalis set over time, if you're able to just hit a stationary target, it is going to bring you, it's going to net you better results. But I think that if you have a monster that doesn't have that many down phases, like the example here of Arch Tempered Velkhana, if you play better than I did, because I was just like fooling around throughout most of this hunt, but like if you play your cards right and you just, you know, really unload when you have every single opening, you know, I think you got a pretty solid set here for slap lancing. And I know that some people might look at this video, and I complained a little bit at the start because of the shells, and like, oh man, Rurikhan just like complaining about everything. I thought you liked this game. It's like, this is my favorite game of all time. You know, it's like, I love this game, and it's just something that I like to talk about, certain things that I feel could be improved. It's not necessarily like a knock on the game. I'm going to be playing every single Monster Hunter game that Capcom will ever do because I love them. They're fantastic. And ultimately, I just hope that a lot of times people take everything so negatively nowadays, and whenever you're trying to discuss something, they're like, oh, here we go, whining about this thing, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm sure that some of you guys understand, but that's it. I'm going to be calling it here for this video. If you guys enjoyed it, hit the like button. If you did not enjoy it, hit the dislike button. Feedback is important. Thank you all very much for watching. I'll see you guys on the next one. Subscribe if you enjoy my content. Remember to subscribe to my secondary channel and follow me on Twitch if you want to keep up with some of the live streams that I'll be doing over there. But yeah, see you guys on the next one. Stay strong, stay safe, peace out.